Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Do you know what it means to be a motherless daughter? Did you know you can have mother loss without mother death? Mother loss comes in many forms, and Motherless Daughters Ministry is here to help you navigate through your particular mother loss. While you are unique, you are definitely not alone. We have 20 years worth of pearls of wisdom to help you on your mother loss journey. And we are sharing all of these pearls with you through this very podcast, Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, sponsored lovingly by Motherless Daughters Ministry.
Hello, I'm Gladys Bell, your host. Today, we have another episode in our Meet the Authors series, through which we interview authors who have published books focused on their mother loss journeys. We learn about their mother loss stories, what inspired them to publish their stories, and their writing process. If you are an author who would be interested in doing an interview, send us a message via the link in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you will be encouraged by the wonderful conversation we had with April Cunningham, the author of Daughters on the Journey. She coordinated the efforts of 9 other women to create this collection of writings that chronicle their mother loss journey to date. As April points out, your mother is always in your head, your ear, and your heart. Their stories share the impact of mother-daughter relationships through the impact of their love, lessons, and the loss. You can find the links to her book and website in our show notes. If you are blessed by our ministry and would like to give back through a donation, please check out our show notes for a link. As a nonprofit working to reach motherless daughters, we appreciate your support. Every donation helps make a difference in providing content for motherless daughters. Let's listen to the interview today with April Cunningham, author of Daughters on the Journey.
Hi, welcome to Meet the Authors with April Cunningham. My name is Mary Ellen Collins, and I'm the board chair. But what I want to do is make sure that I introduce to you the other 2 people that are on this. So the first person I'm going to introduce is Daniela Najoli, and she's the new executive director of the Motherless Daughters Ministry. And she's going to be working with me, and we're going to do the interviewing of our guest, who is April Cunningham. So let me give you a little bit of information about April. The book, that's Daughters on the Journey. April's a native of Pittsburgh. She's the youngest of 5. She's a graduate of Slippery Rock University, and that's in Pennsylvania. And she's been an HR executive for 27 years. She's been married for 27 years. She's a mom of 2, and the most important thing is that she is a child of God. So, April, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So one of the first questions that I have for you is, what inspired you to write a book about your mother loss journey?
Yeah, so I will tell you. So first and foremost, thank you to you both and to Sarah for this amazing opportunity. I saw your ministry and it just inspired me so much. It is very similar to the message that I want to share, is how we navigate life after the loss of our mother or any experience with our mother. So thank you for your ministry. Thank you for this vision. Thank you for this platform as well. So to answer your question, it has truly been a grief journey for me. Fortunately and unfortunately, I've had 5 family members passed away from 2021 until 2023. And so I've got a great relationship with God, and I'm like, hello, do you hear me? My shoulders are pretty big, but this is pretty heavy stuff. And so I said, why me? And he said, why not you? And the message that I received as clearly as I'm talking to you now is healing by helping. And if you share your story, April, I am confident that somebody will be healed. And so that was my vision, to write about my mother and
Mm.
also to celebrate her legacy. I really, really had to change the narrative about death. Mom is resting, waiting for that trumpet to sound. And so I get the opportunity to still be here and to share her story. So that's why I write.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful, April. And as I read through your book and read your chapter, I also know that you have 10 co-authors.
I do.
So my question, yeah, that's wonderful. How did you all meet and decide to work on this together?
Sure. So they are all women that I know, and they are at various stages in their grief journey. And I wrote down names so I would not forget anybody. Nina is from Pittsburgh. Deneen is from South Carolina. Ursula is from North Carolina. Shona, Connie, Adrian are from North Carolina. Kira and Serena are here with me in Florida. And so I've met them all at various stages, and they too are at various stages in their grief journey. I lost mom well, I didn't lose her, right? She's resting. Mom passed away in my 50s. For some of them, they are at various journeys. Some lost when they were younger. There's one that we have that lost when she was a teen. So that experience in and of itself is going to resonate with the readers at various different levels, right? It's a different experience to have your mom pass away at 50 rather than a young woman to pass away at 13 or 14. That experience is very different. And that's what made these stories so powerful.
Yeah, and it's so important too, right? To note that because different stages might
Hmm.
Yes.
might bring about different reactions and different responses. I know
Hmm.
personally I lost my mom when I was really young. I was 5. And so
Hmm.
that's a different stage than like as you say in your 50s or a teenager as well. Yeah, why was it important for you to include so many stories in your book?
And so I will tell you, this started off as I put a Facebook post out December of 2022, several months after my mother passed away. And I said, who wants to share their story about their mother? There are so many comments on that page. And so it started with about 50 women. It went to 35 women. It went to 15 women. And then it
Hmm.
went to 9 women and me. Right. And so for those individuals that need to be a part of your journey, God will select them and put them in the right place. And these 9 women, they needed to be there with me and I needed to walk on their journey and I needed them to walk on my journey with me as well. So the right people at the right
Hmm.
time.
Right. That is just amazing, pulling those people together from so many different areas and being
Yes.
able to pull it together and make it happen. That's the other thing, is
Yes.
making it happen. That's like what I always said, that's like herding cats. You got people everywhere, so
And
but
I will tell you, they did not meet each other. We've done this we started probably March of 2024. Writing day one was June 1st. And so
hmm.
we did one-on-one coachings, one-on-one Zooms, and we did group coachings. They did not meet and see each other face to face and get hugs and sister hugs until our book launch in Charlotte on November 17th. So to do this virtually, to pull all of this together, it is nothing but the grace of God, right? As the
Wow.
center, we met
Wow.
and we hugged for the first time in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Well, one of the things I know that there's some people who are very interested, and I am too, about your writing process. Can you
Mhm.
describe that writing process for this
Sure.
book?
So it's like I said, I put that post out there and this was an experience. And one of the things that I knew is I was asking these ladies to step back into their grief, to step back into those stories that were
Mm-hmm.
hard, those moments of
Mm-hmm.
tears, those moments of fear, those moments of, can I really do this? I've written, and I have 2 other individuals that are on there that have written books before, but most of these ladies have not written in that fashion, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it was not only the journey of telling their story, but the journey of writing a book, right? It is putting that together.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I knew is that I can help them write. I can help you formulate. We can get an editor. But one of the things that I did and I was very intentional about was I can teach you how to write. I can coach you. But if you get stuck in a mental health moment, I can't help you with that. And so I was blessed and fortunate for a mental health professional to be, God doesn't make mistakes. He brought her right to me. I was looking for journey prompts to help us through. And there is a grief coach in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she actually wrote the foreword for my book. And she was able to provide us not only her grief notes or her journey lessons, but she was there to be a resource for anybody that got stuck. Because I knew from a mental health perspective, if they got stuck, I needed them to have a resource outside of myself. And so that
Wow.
writing process was that entire thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there's one other thing as you were talking that all of these women had to be able to do is be vulnerable.
Yes.
Because once your story's out there, you can't control what
Mhm.
anyone's going to say.
Sure.
So that's the transparency of being able to do this and being vulnerable is
Mhm.
just really a challenge. So they all are to be commended for what they've done. So that's really
Absolutely. Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah.
And just to build on that, when we initially got together, I was so excited to share my story and my vision about this is what
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do, this is what I wanted it to look like. And when we met initially, I had to pause because I was so excited and we needed that moment. We needed that
Mm-hmm.
moment of vulnerability. We needed that moment of transparency. Some of the women shared at that moment, April, thank you for creating this safe space, right? Especially those ones whose moms passed away when they were younger. Because at that time, and I'll call one out specifically, Nina, I love you for this, but Nina's mom died when she was young, right? And Nina is my age. I think she may be a year older than me. Sorry, Nina, if I told your age, but we went to high school together. And at that time, there weren't many mothers who were passing away at that time, right? There was no real experience. There was no one to tell you what to do. It was, okay, dust your knees off, get up and keep moving, right? We didn't have that opportunity to be vulnerable. We didn't have
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity to share those tears or to get
Mm-hmm.
all of that out or to be able to, mental health
Mm-hmm.
at that
Mm-hmm.
time, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And so how did you help that young woman at that time, right? And so
Right.
that sense of vulnerability needed to happen right here. And I am just glad that I was chosen to be the visionary as it
Mm-hmm.
relates. And I am praying that my 10 ladies, including me, and everybody that has an opportunity to read, hear, or see will see themselves on the journey and will get that healing that they need.
As you were talking, you reminded me of myself because my mother died when I was 15. So I'm a
Okay.
sophomore in high school,
Hmm.
and she dies in the summer, and I'm going back as a junior in high school, and no one knew, and I didn't tell anyone because as a teenager, you just want to look normal.
Hmm.
But what is really profound was I went back for one of my high school reunions and I was in the restroom and a woman came in and she said, "Oh, and Mary Ellen, I'm so glad to see you. I always wanted to be you." And I said,
Mm.
"Why?" And she went on and on and on about different things. And I said to her, "And did you know my mother died when I was 15? Did you know my father was gone when I was 10?" And she was devastated because she did not know. But that's an example of you don't talk about it. Nobody does anything. You just get right on the wagon and you just keep going. You just
Right.
keep going.
Right.
Okay, back to you. But I want to
Okay.
know, is there a particular step or section of the book that was the most challenging for you?
Writing my own story,
Mm,
right? I was able to, I understood the vision that I wanted to do, and I was so focused on making sure that my
mm,
co-authors had what they need, that I walked them along the journey. We did Zooms and we did recordings to make sure that they could hear themselves and
mm,
providing that, I'm a coach. And, I'm a woman and we always put ourselves sometimes last. But for me, it was more important for me to make sure that they were on the right path and to make sure that
Mhm.
they got what they needed from me. And so you always put yourself last, but it was necessary because I needed to elevate.
Mhm. And one of the things I think goes along with that, with many people, I don't know if this was for you, it's easy to take care of somebody else, but it's
Mhm.
harder to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got to do better as women. So we're going to put that challenge there, but we've got to do better as women, right?
Yep.
If
Yep.
we don't take
Yep.
care of ourselves, we won't be good for anybody else. So I eat
Mhm.
my own medicine as it relates to that as well.
Okay. All
Yes.
right.
And it's definitely a journey as you talk about often
Yes.
in this book, right?
Yes.
And as you mentioned, April, you are the author of two other books, Embracing Your Journey, right? And a
Yes.
contributing author of Wake Up Girlfriends.
Wake up,
Um,
girlfriend.
and wake up, girlfriend. Okay, there you go. And again, it's about I'm seeing the theme of healing by helping, and that's what I
Absolutely.
noticed even with you writing this book and shepherding the process for these women. It was about helping, and I see that clearly. My question to you is, what was the most rewarding part of writing this book?
Mhm.
And do you see writing as a career? Because again, with these three books, I'm just
Mhm.
curious.
As a coach, when you see that moment when the light bulb goes off, when you
Mhm.
see that sense of accomplishment, right? We had that, April, I'm not sure. How am I going to do this? How am I going to tell my family? And then it was that moment in where the light bulb went off, but it was the moment for me at the book launch for the first time for them to stand up and to say, I am author Nina. I am author Ursula. I am author Connie, right? That sense of confidence, that sense of, I did it, right? And we all went to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we had our I Am a Daughter on the Journey t shirts, and we had a photo shoot. It was that moment of confidence. It was that moment of, this is for my mother. This is
Mhm.
how I'm going to celebrate her. This is going to be her legacy. And this is how I honor her. That was
Okay.
amazing.
When we started, you said, get my Kleenex. And
Beautiful.
now I've got mine because now
I know.
you've got me modern.
Yeah. I mean, the way you honor your mother and the way you have shepherded, as I said, this process for other women as a coach, I see that shining through as a fellow coach as well. I definitely can relate to that when you want to see that aha
Mhm.
moment
Yeah,
for the person that you've supported. Yeah. And you kind of answered this a little bit, but if you could share a little bit more about what themes do you hope readers will take away from your book?
sure, sure. A couple of things. There's one in my story, and it's the parting words that I said to my mother because there were moments, and you have this with your mom, there are ebbs and flows, right? And so I asked my mother at one point while she was living, why didn't I get what they did? And I don't think I said that I'm the youngest of five, but there's 10 years between me and them, right? So they were stair
Mhm.
step. There's this big gap, and we call that special present, right? And then there's April Cunningham or April Everett at the time. And so there were questions that I asked my mother, why didn't I? Why didn't I? Why didn't I? And when it got to the end and she answered and she said, April, I did the best with what I had. And that is a chapter that I wrote for her in my book. And that was the words that I said to her as I closed her casket. And I
Mhm.
said, Sarah Lillian Everett Taylor, your best was good enough. And
Okay.
that's
Now
what I
you
hope.
got me again.
That is what I
All
hope that
right.
they take
Beautiful.
away. One, we've got to
Mhm.
honor mom. One, we have to understand their journey. They didn't have a book, they just did the best with what they could. And so
Mhm.
that is what I hope, even in any circumstance, that you remember mom's journey. You remember that she did the best with what she had, and that for
Mhm.
us, she will always be in here. She will always be in here, and she will always be in here. Listen, that voice will
Mhm.
speak to you. Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful.
I don't think this is, you're the one that says, I got to get my Kleenex, and I'm the one over here dripping.
Well, I've got it. I'm just trying. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get through.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you'll
Mhm.
have to excuse me for watering here.
It's
The biggest
okay.
thing is then it blurs my vision. So, Danietta, you may have to take over at some time. But one of the things that I'm curious about is really to understand if there was a specific moment or passage that you feel like in the book that you feel like captures the essence of your message.
There are a few. And I think the celebrating her life, right? That was the most important thing to me. And I'll tell you about an experience that I did. And so I have a partnership at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. And so when my mother passed away, the room that she was in was called the Daffodil Room. And in the city of Pittsburgh, when my mother passed away, it was in April 10th. And so prior to that, I went to my old home and it was cold. It's cold in March in Pittsburgh. And so I happened to be, and we have alleys in the northern part of country. And so I parked in this alley that was next to my mother's house. And I look over and there's barren trees, but I see something yellow in the pathway. And I'm like, what could that be? I get out and it's a bunch of daffodils that are pushing through. And I look up and I go, thank you, God. Thank you, because that was my reminder, April, you're going to be okay. And so one of the things that I wanted to do to celebrate and change that narrative about April 10th is I partner with the University of Medical Center and I adopted the room that my mother's in. And I created a program for her called Lillian's Daffodil Legacy. And so in that room, because it was hospice, a couple of the things that I remember is I didn't have anything to write on. It was cold. I didn't have anything to drink. And so one of the things that I did to honor my mother was to create that legacy program. So I adopted the hospice room that she was in. So anybody that goes into the Daffodil Room at the University of Pittsburgh Canterbury Hospice Center will get a bag that says Lillian's Daffodil Legacy. They'll get a yellow blanket because I was cold. They'll get a water bottle because I needed something to drink. And they will get a notebook and pen set because I needed something to write on. And the note says to them, this is to walk you on your journey. I have walked where you are, and this is to let you know that you're going to be okay. And so that legacy that you do from my mother, I had to change her narrative. I am going to cry on that day, but I'm also going to celebrate her. And that's what I want these ladies to take away. Grief is going to be there. You can't walk it away. You can't sleep it away. Hopefully nobody's doing this. You can't drink it away or smoke it away. But grief is going to be there. But it's how you change the narrative to honor and celebrate her life.
Wow. That is just wonderful, April. That is just so powerful.
We're going to take a short break to share some information. Then we'll hear the rest of the interview.
You have a powerful story to tell, and I want you to know your story will resonate with so many in our listening community. Podcasts provide us with opportunities to connect with others, fostering a sense of personal connection through the power and intimacy of one's voice. They can provide an escape, a touch point with the world outside, and a sense of community, and not just for the listeners. If you would like to be featured as a nurturing voice of experience in one of our upcoming podcasts, please let us know. Visit motherlessdaughtersministry.com today.
I have another question that I really want to ask you about. Have you received feedback about particular things? And if so, could you, if it connected with something in your book, would you share some of that with us?
Sure. So we had the opportunity, you have the opportunity. The book is on Amazon and we'll talk a little bit about that. I would prefer that you get it from me and our website, and I'll share that after. The Amazon is a whole different story. But there are Amazon reviews, right? And there are people that have sent comments about it. But the one thing that they said is that it resonates with me. One of those stories, and that's why these ladies were selected, and that's why their stories are so important, is because you may not resonate with my story. You may resonate with a Deneen, with a Ursula, with a Shona. And so even though we have it and we all moms are resting, our stories are different. And there's one thing that I wanted to share. I won an award here in Florida as influential women in South Florida. And the one thing, thank you so much. After I won that award, I wanted to tell her There were no thoughts about it. I dialed her whole phone number, and it's the same number that she has had since I was a kid. I dialed her whole phone number and I put the phone up to my ear and went, she's not going to answer. And I posted that on my Facebook page. There were so many women that said, April, I still do that. I still have that moment that I want to tell her something and it doesn't even register. There are going to be those moments. You're going to walk by something. You're going to smell something. You're going to see something that you've done that's going to be a reminder for you about mom. And so that's what those stories are going to do, is that it may not be April's story, it may be one of theirs, but that they get a sense of the journey and the lessons, right? And I say in my messages when I sign, let the lessons, the laughs, and most importantly, the love remind you every time you think of mom. And I hope that it makes you smile.
Wow. That is powerful. That is powerful. Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. Just the touching nature of all of this. I mean, the way you purpose it in your heart to honor your mom, and even in the form of this dedication to this room at the hospice location. I mean, that's beautiful. That means other people will be able to be touched by the words that you say and what they receive based on what you needed at that time in that room. So that's beautiful. And I know your story is about your mother resting, right? Going on and resting. How do you think your book might help someone going through a similar experience of mother loss?
They're going to see it. They're going to see those hard truths. Some of my co-authors laid it out specifically, right? I share stories, but some of them talk about the journey that they've been on, and they give real life examples of what happens. There is one of the things that I learned. There's a book by a nurse, and I saw it, and I tell it about in my book. It's a little pamphlet, and I think the nurse's name is Barbara Kearns. I read that pamphlet, and she talks about the death process, right? What happens 3 months, 1 month, a week, hours, days, hours, and minutes. And when I tell you that was a very clear example, the things that she said I would see, I saw, right? In terms of what happens to the skin, what happens to the body, what happens when they take that last breath, right? Those are real things. Those are real things. And one of the most important things that I wanted to make sure that we shared, I wanted the stories to be vulnerable. So those daughters that are coming on the journey behind us have real understanding of what transpires, what will transpire, how you're going to feel after, what the next day is going to look like, what the next week is going to look like, what that month, what that year is going to look like. We wanted to prepare them. We wanted to equip them. This is going to be a tough conversation. It is, right? But here's somebody who has walked through it before you. And we can assure you that yes, there are going to be tears, but you're going to smile again. There's going to be healing for you. And I think the biggest thing that I want them to take away is grief has no timeline, and don't let anybody tell you differently. Don't let them tell you how long you get to grieve, how long you get to cry. It is my story. It's my mama, right? It's not your mama. So you can't tell me that. I just went way off, but in my professional language, but it's my mama. And you can't tell me what that is for me. Right. And so that's what I want to make sure that those daughters on the journey come behind us. This is your story. It's your journey. And I need you to embrace it.
I think that that's one of the hardest things that motherless daughters have, because society doesn't give you any breaks.
Right.
So, yeah, and nobody really gets it or understands it. I know that so many times when someone finds us, and you don't go looking for the motherless daughters ministry unless you have a reason.
Right.
So when they find us, they say, "Oh, thank goodness, somebody who understands."
Yes. Yes.
Somebody who gets it and somebody who understands,
Right. And so you don't know until you've walked in these shoes. We are part of a sisterhood that none of us wanted to be a part of, but now that we're here, what do we do with it? And that is why we wrote this book, to be able to share. to be able to
Mm-hmm.
tell somebody else that's coming behind us or that's
Mm-hmm.
walking through it right now. I have a friend of mine, and I was very candid about my mother's death. I shared it about the journey with my high school classmates because we are all about that age, right? Four score and 10, right? And if you get more, you're blessed. But that conversation I was very candid about. And I shared in one of the stories about having to sign the DNR, right? Do not resuscitate. And when they gave me the iPad, I sat there with it for hours, trying to
Mm-hmm.
contemplate what to do, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
don't sign it, it's going to prolong the situation. If I do sign it, it's going to usher death in. And I had to make the decision at that point what was best for mom at that time. And so I shared that story. And a friend of mine whose mother passed away a couple months ago, she goes, AC, and that's what they call me. I got that DNR on I got it on the clipboard. So it wasn't on the iPad, but I heard your voice so clearly that yes, I need to do this for mom. And yes, this is going to hurt, but I've got to do what's in the best interest of mom. If
Mm-hmm.
anything that I share is going to help someone get through, then praise God, I had to do the healing by helping.
I am, as we're talking, because you're sharing all these stories, and one of the comments I think, or one of the questions I have for you is, your thoughts about what is storytelling? What role does it play in the healing process when you're in grieving?
Yeah. Storytelling is in this situation because they're real, right? You can read about things, you can
Mm-hmm.
listen to blogs, you can do all of that. I am a real person with real feelings, and I get it. It's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not sympathize or no, it's empathize. It's that I understand. I am walking or have walked in the shoes that you were about to walk in, or even some of them that have not dealt with that grief yet, right? I'm still grieving. My smile is there and my celebration, but that grief will ever be there. And the stories that you tell are real stories, and that's what we hope that somebody will resonate with a real
Mm-hmm.
story. It's not fictitious. The good, the
Mm-hmm.
bad, and the ugly, right? As it relates to death and
Mm-hmm.
dying, it's a real thing. And if I can share that story to make somebody understand or help them get there, then I've done what I was supposed to do. That they can connect to a real person. It's a real thing.
One thing I wanted to share when I was hearing you talk, April, when you mentioned how grief doesn't have a timeline, I love that because there's a book also written by a woman named Marissa Renee Lee who wrote the book Grief is Love. And she talks
Ah,
about that I know, she talks about that very thing, how there's no timeline,
it's
there's no
good.
stages even. Now, that's her belief. There's no stages. And
Hmm.
we've been taught that in a lot of
Right?
other writings. So to your point, when you talk about that, you say, this is my time. I'm going to grieve the way I need to grieve and not let anyone else take that away from you or tell you you're supposed to grieve a certain way. So that was really resonating with me. And I also love how you ordered the book, how you organized the book. You had, the pictures, the beautiful pictures of the person's mom and then the author themselves
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yes.
And then you also have a section, where there's a thank you, a gratitude space, and then the lessons on the journey that each author could share,
Yes.
and then and pages for people to write in. So, if there's one message that you would like to share, with readers who have experienced mother loss, like what would you? I know you've said a lot of different messages, but if you could,
Sure.
if you had to distill it,
Mhm.
into a message, what would that be?
Yeah. I think it's what I say often. She's forever in here. She's forever in here. And she's forever in here. Regardless of no matter how much time has gone, those lessons are in there. There are things that I said that my mother said that I would never say, right? And I've said it out loud and I go, Sarah, right? She's in there, right? When in those moments that get tough, listen for her voice. It is in there. She is
Mm-hmm.
forever with you.
Mm. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, there's one comment. The power of this book is that it's not just for those who have lost mothers. I'm a daughter on the journey who has lost her dad.
Ah,
Mm, yeah,
listen, I will
yeah.
tell you that came. And so at our book launch in Charlotte, and there I had we had the book launch, we had the authors read, we had a song. I had one of our authors, Ursula Pizarro, and her son Javier Pizarro. There's a song that's called A Mother's Love, and it said, "Can't nothing beat my mother's love. Can't nothing beat what she's made of." Right?
Mm,
And so I had all of the women come down and I said, if there are any, and I call them DOTJs, if there are any DOTJs who are living without mom, please come and join us. And we did a sister circle and had just that moment of healing. But
mm,
after that moment, there were a few ladies that were like, April, I am a DOTJ, but it's my dad. And I said, oh, I didn't think about that. But that's a story, right?
mhm.
Can we see another book coming as it relates to that, because that's a different
Yeah.
dynamic with a
Mm,
daddy and a daughter, right? Keisha
yeah.
Unger, if you're listening, I got your suggestion. But yes,
Mhm.
there's that as well, right? There's one of my
Well,
authors that talks
that was
about that mom piece, right? There are various levels, and even the stories that resonate for those moms that had dementia before they passed away, right? That's a whole different situation, right? And so
yeah.
that's the stories that it relates. But yes,
Mhm.
daddies and daughters that I have gotten that a few times. They're like, April, and I go, let me catch my breath. I'll be back with you soon. So more to come.
Well, that was going to be one of my final questions. Is so what's next?
Yes. So
Now, I want to say, as my mother would say, so what's next, Missy?
I love it. I love it. So I am definitely thinking about it, and I've thought about it hard. I definitely want to do a version two. There were some ladies that were expressed interest, and they didn't get the opportunity to go on the journey on this one. So volume two is there. And this is a part of my brand, the Journey brand, that I will continue. So I definitely want to do daughters too. I definitely want to talk to those daddies girls. But then I wanted to see a little brown girl as a
Hmm.
children's book, because there are some young women that I have met here recently who, like you, Danette, that are living without mom at a very early age. What do we tell those young women, right? Who teaches them how to put on a bra? Who teaches
Hmm.
them what it means to have heartbreak? Who teaches them that senior prom, that cheerleader moment, right? We've got to be able to use what we've been given to pull those individuals that are behind us. So a children's book may not be very far off.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Sounds like your
Beautiful,
writing
beautiful.
career. It's
There's lots of comments saying how proud they are of April.
You.
it's great.
So that right there, that may get me, because my mom got the opportunity to see Embracing Your Journey. She was able to see it and hold it in her hand. But that was the one thing that I won't hear, is that I'm proud of you. Right. And so when I hear that, that just is a testament to, I did it, mom. I did it, mom.
She's here.
Yeah.
All right. Any last statements that anybody wants to make?
So I just wanted to share, our website is daughtersonthejourney.com. You can see all of the authors. You can purchase the books. All of their pictures are out there. I need to update the new one. Sorry, guys. But their pictures are out there. We would much prefer that you purchase it from us, because you get the opportunity to get a signed copy, and the proceeds stay with the authors. And so that's most important for me, is that the contributions that they've made, that they get the return on investment. So
Hmm.
daughtersonthejourney.com, we would love to hear from you. We'd love for you to be a part of our sisterhood, a part of our network, and to be able to share, so that we can continue to tell our stories, because I know that everybody out there listening has a story within them, and we want to hear it.
What I find so fascinating, and it's just such a pleasure, is how much the ministry, Motherless Daughters Ministry, echoes everything that you've said. And we've been doing that for 25 years. So you were just a youngin back then.
Yeah.
Uh, But that's what we're all about too. And
Yeah.
there's so many things you said that we believe very, very strongly in. So
Mm-hmm.
I am going to say to you, April, I appreciate so much you being
Thank you.
on, your willingness to be here. And I'll let Danietta say her what she needs to say.
So thank you so much, April, for
Yes.
being a part of this series. We are definitely grateful that
Yes.
you are one of the authors in the series. And there's a lot of alignment, just to Mary Ellen's point, there's a lot of alignment there. We hope to continue on this journey together too.
Absolutely. When I saw Motherless Daughters, I sent the email. I watched the videos. I said the welcome for you, Danietta. And so I sent that message to Mary Ellen, and I was like, this aligns like this. And I don't believe in coincidences. I just believe that that's God's way of staying invisible and putting people together. So when like-minded women get on one accord, magic happens.
All right. Well, we're going to close out and just really appreciate you being here. And Danietta, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, grateful to be here. This was a joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you are in need of more nurturing words and voices of experience, we encourage you to listen to our other episodes, hit subscribe, and come check out our Motherless Daughter resources on our website at motherlessdaughtersministry.com. You can also find us on our YouTube channel and in our Facebook community, Motherless Daughters Ministry. We hope you'll come visit us, and we look forward to you joining us again next time. Until then, stay well.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.